was oh so long ago. Now we're without our franchise quarterback. Our cornerstone cornerback is likely playing his last year in Honolulu Blue, and we're falling apart as the defense crumbles. And on offense, we can't run. We have a backup quarterback running the show, and therefore the wide receivers will suffer. It does feel like TJH will have a big game, though, but it won't be enough. On defense, we can't stop the run. We have a pair of backup safeties starting, and our two best players have been banged up since week 3 and 4. Things look pretty bleak. Zeke doesn't look like himself. There really isn't a sign of injury. This is a major get-right spot for Zeke to eat. The passing offense should have success for Dallas as well. Dallas should be able to stifle any run game, but will probably let J.D. McKissick eat with plenty of targets out of the backfield in a game where we're playing from behind a lot. Dallas 31, Detroit 16. The sadness continues unless you own J.D. McKissick in a PPR fantasy league. There you go. Fantasy advice straight from the guy who runs Saturday morning fantasy football. You can catch it live every Saturday morning. And by live, I mean it goes live Saturday morning.
I'm curious. What did Kevin have to say?
Kevin? This is what Kevin said. Man, I kill myself. All right.
Oh, God.
The Denver Broncos are 3-6. The Minnesota Vikings are 7-3. Broncos 26th in the power rankings. The Vikings are 8th. Vikings are favored by 10.5. Easiest game to pick. Of course, I say that, and it's going to come back to bite me. But Brandon Allen starting for Denver. Vikings are clicking on offense. They have a solid D. They are my lock of the week. Don, you have also locked in the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I'm Brandon Allen starting. There, you hit the nail on the head.
Any other injuries of note? How's Adam Thielen feeling, James?
Hamstring held out of practice. He is still week to week. Safety Anthony Harris also has the inner thigh injury. Linval Joseph has knee injury. Trey Wayne's ankle. Brett Jones, the center, was placed on injured reserve today. So something to think about there. For the Denver Broncos, Bryce Callahan, Tim Patrick, Juwan Jones all show up on the injury report.
You know, I have a fantasy league where I have Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Thielen, and Kupp. I was cruising.
Okay.
I was cruising to a fantasy
so they all
championship.
got hurt.
And then Kamara got hurt, and now Thielen is hurt. It's killing me.
Kupp has been up and down.
Oh, Kupp last week. We'll get to that. The Jacksonville Jaguars, 4-5, are at the Indianapolis Colts, 5-4. The Jaguars are 21st in the power rankings. The Colts are 16th. Colts are favored by 3 in this game, another game that will feature banged up quarterbacks. But the Colts beat the Jaguars 29-26 almost a year ago to the date in Indy. And then again, in December last year, 6-0. If Jacoby Brissett plays, I'm all in on Indy. If Hoyer is playing, the Jags should win, but I don't expect big numbers from Nick Foles, who's being thrust into a team that developed a lot of chemistry with Gardner Minshew behind center. I'm going to go with the Colts. That is assuming Jacoby Brissett is starting. James, you have taken the Jaguars. How is Jacoby Brissett feeling?
Jacoby Brissett is not on the injury report this week, so I will be switching my pick to the Colts because the only reason I picked the Jaguars is because I cannot stand to watch this team put Brian Hoyer out there to play quarterback. Fire that dude yesterday. Like, wow, how many times can you give the ball to the opposing team? Christmas came early for Miami last week. That's all I'm going to say. 4 turnovers, 3 picks. On the injury report for the Colts, though, Devin Funchess, injured reserve with a collarbone. Darius Leonard was limited due to an ab injury. Jordan Wilkins, an ankle, is questionable. Mo Alley Cox and Jack Doyle, the tight ends, are also listed as questionable with hip and shoulder. T.Y. Hilton's nursing a calf injury. He didn't practice on Wednesday, but is listed as doubtful for Sunday. Paris Campbell has a hand injury. He is out for this week. For the Jaguars, Calais Campbell, limited practice due to back injury. Brandon Linder, the center, is questionable. Cam Robinson, the tackle, is questionable. And Jake Ryan, the linebacker, is out.
Calais Campbell would be one that I would watch. That would be a big injury for the Jaguars to try and overcome.
Yeah, big part of their defense now. That secondary has been hit with the departure of Ramsey.
Correct. The New Orleans Saints are 7-2. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3-6. The Saints were number one last week. They have fallen to fourth after that upset loss to the Atlanta Falcons. The Bucs stay steady at 24. New Orleans favored by 5.5 in this particular game. Let's talk about Tampa Bay for a little bit here, because Mike Evans has 924 receiving yards. Chris Godwin has 840. They rank second and fourth in receiving yards in the league, respectively, this season. It's not the lack of offense that's killing the Buccaneers and giving them a 3-6 record. No. It's the turnovers, and specifically the interceptions. Now, I don't care if Bruce Arians is at a press conference and saying guys are running the wrong routes. Jameis is doing what he's supposed to. Guys are in the wrong spot. Don't give me that, because Jameis has 14 picks this season, only 3 games with no picks, including the previous game this season versus the Saints. I'm going to roll with the odds and say he throws a pick or two and the Saints win this game. We are all in agreement here, Don.
Yeah, I mean, Evans has really come on the last couple of weeks, whereas the first couple of weeks, Godwin was really the focus of that offense. But yeah, I don't know if I talked about it last week or not, but yeah, when it's bad, Jameis, it's really bad. So it's hard to trust that. O.J. Howard actually, had a touchdown last week, which seems like an aberration. I mean, maybe they'll continue to feed him, considering, on paper how good he should be. But yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay run defense is legit, but their pass defense has not been good at all last year. And I'm sure a lot of that has to come with times they're coming back on the field because of all the James turnovers. It's hard to trust the Bucs.
Well, Don, as far as Howard having a good game last week, the Cardinals defense lets tight ends feast on them regularly.
Yep, exactly.
So Howard should have scored a touchdown. If he didn't, that would be the shocker. As far as Winston, I'm sorry, Pod, I got to agree with Arians because I've watched several Buccaneers games, and his interceptions the majority of them are not errant throws. When you say he's thrown 14 on the year, I'd probably say 5 or 6 are his fault. The rest of them are just receivers not catching the ball, running the wrong route, not where they're supposed to be, tipping the ball in the air, whatever have you. And yeah, those things still get credited to him as an interception. I would say he's probably about 60-40 as far as being careful with the ball this year, as opposed to previous years where it looked like it was 30-70. The other thing with the turnovers, he's not the only one. Their running backs love fumbling the ball away. They can't hold on to the ball to save their lives. These guys get in the crowd of bodies between the defensive line and the linebackers, and the ball is on the ground like once a quarter. I think in the last 2 weeks, the running backs have fumbled 3 times. So that's not a recipe to help you out either, especially when Jameis is trying to take care of the ball and things are, not necessarily his fault.
Did you go over the injury report on this one already?
Nah, for the Saints, we have Austin Peay, tackle. He's going to be out. Lattimore is questionable with a hamstring. Deontay Harris has a hamstring, is questionable. And Demario Davis also nursing a hamstring. He's listed as questionable. For the Buccaneers, Carl Nassib has that inner thigh thing going on, so he's questionable. Carlton Davis with a hip. And MJ Stewart has a sprained right knee. He's doubtful.
69 and mostly sunny on Sunday for Tampa Bay.
Nice.
will be cloudy and 44 degrees in Washington, D.C., as the New York Jets, who are 2-7, will face off against the Washington Redskins, who are 1-8. The Jets remain at 29 in our power rankings. The Redskins remain at 31 in the power rankings. They are favored by 1.5 points in this particular game. Despite home field advantage, our home field advantage in the Pigskin Pick'em is only 2 points, which would make it a tie with the Jets in the power rankings. Thus, the team with the original higher ranking gets the power ranking pick goes to the Jets. That was a long way of saying the power ranking pick is going to the Jets. Anyway, Sam Darnold. It appears that to stop seeing ghosts, all he needed to do was face the NFC least. Dwayne Haskins is named the starter the rest of the way for Washington. Revenge game for Jamison Crowder, who's looking for his third game in a row with 80-plus receiving yards and a touchdown. I say Jets win. Jets win. Don agrees with me. You, my friend James, do not.
Ooh.
Yeah, Neil will be happy about this one. I don't like the Jets. I don't like what I've seen out of them at all.
I don't like them either. But I mean, I'm still going to go with the best team in this one.
Not in that way. I don't like the way they played it all this season. That's what I really mean. Okay. Yeah, this team. Okay, Sam Darnold. I can't even call this a sophomore slump. His play is erratic at best, horrendous at worst. Adam Gase is trash. I'm not really sorry. Adam Gase is trash as a head coach. For whatever positive notes that we could pick out of Sam Darnold's game in his rookie season, Adam Gase pretty much looked at that and was like, oh, these are all the things Sam Darnold does well? Let's just throw this in the trash and do something completely opposite. Because that's what the Jets look like on offense. How you cannot get Le'Veon Bell going to at least get you 60 yards rushing a game, I have no idea.
The offensive line. It's horrible.
Even the worst offensive lines, Jay, still somehow managed to get their team 60 yards rushing in a game.
Well, Le'Veon Bell sat out a year, and he's hurt.
Well, yeah, he's got the trifecta this week: ribs, knee, and illness.
Oh, the silent killer. No.
Also showing up on an injury report for the Jets, Demaryius Thomas, knee and hamstring. Robbie Anderson, back and shoulder. Steve McClendon is showing up in an injury report. Josh Adams, the backup running back. Brian Winters is placed on injury reserve along with Chris Herndon. So, yeah, those two injuries right there just, I mean, like you said, offensive line play. Well, offensive line is now banged up. First Khalil, now Winters. So the interior of your line where you like to run the ball, not going to happen against Washington. For Washington injuries, Norman is limited with a hamstring. Paul Richardson also limited this week with a hamstring. Adrian Peterson remains number one on the depth chart, but he is questionable to play for Sunday. It doesn't say if it's injury related or not. Chris Thompson has a toe injury. He's questionable, and Vernon Davis still is in a concussion protocol. He might as well just sit out like that other guy does.
I believe Chris Herndon was put on IR.
Chris Herndon, was he put on IR?
Yeah, he's done.
Yes, he was put on IR.
So, dude was suspended for 6
Played
games.
A game.
I don't even think he played a game, James. I don't think he ever saw. I don't even think he played a game.
He did. He had one catch.
He played Sunday. Oh. Yeah, he played Sunday against the Giants.
Well, I'm glad I didn't play him.
But yeah, as for Washington, they have issues with, look, what they did to, why am I forgetting his name right now? Offensive lineman.
Trent Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, what they did to Trent Williams is criminal. And I wish no success for this team as a whole. I want Dwayne Haskins to play well. I really do. I'm rooting for him. But this organization is a complete dumpster fire. And the way they've handled Trent Williams' injury and the concerns that he had, and looking at all the injuries they've had over the past 3 years, your entire roster should not be on injury reserve by week 5, halfway through each season. It just that there's something going on there with your training and medical staff, and something is very wrong and rotten in Washington with this football team. And from ownership to the front office, coaching staff, which is pretty much we know is going to change next year. And now you're talking about